Knocked away, Marshall, Clark, to the rim. An 11-0 Iowa run. As one of the arena cameramen got hit there after the bucket, and the officials stopped play.
Right here, this is Caitlin Clark all on her own, jumping out to double team. She sensed that she could get the steals, that she could create some havoc, and she did, and got the layup the other way. And let's go.
Gabby Marshall approves.
I drive a very nice car. It's very fast, very shiny. But sadly, it's not built for the famous Aussie lifestyle. And I love the famous Aussie lifestyle.
I love the fashion.
I love the food. But mainly, I like to drive here. So this is my second car. Designed for my second home, Australia.
Bike rack, rod holders, roof racks, thong storage, built-in pie oven, freshwater shower. Oh, hey Barrow. Walter is having a little shower too. Budgie Smuggler drying system. BRS, buck reduction system. Mullet aeration technology.
Check this out. That's a bird.
I'm going to be busy racing my first car. So I put this baby on Uber car share. You can rent it for free because I am very rich already. Australia's home of second cars.
Walter will miss you.
To come up with a tire package that generated more tire wear. That was the request from NASCAR and the teams. And we feel like we had a very successful test. We feel like we had a very successful race in the fall of last year because we did exactly that. We ran a full fuel stop, definitely saw wear, but we thought it was spot on. So now we're trying to understand what's different, why is the racetrack behaving differently this weekend than what it did a year ago. It's the same package, it's the same tire combination. Obviously the difference is resin was placed on the lower groove instead of the PJ1. Yet I still think the racetrack should be taking rubber as it did last fall. Took rubber immediately during that race. So still a bit of an unknown as far as why it's not behaving the same way, that being the racetrack. But that's kind of what we know now. Obviously everybody's kind of in the same boat. Some guys are able to manage through it a little bit better than others, but it's still a tough situation, and we're just going to have to try to understand exactly what's happening, what's different, and adjust from there.
Was Goodyear consulted on whether to use resin or PJ1?
No, that was a track decision. There was a conversation late last night, this morning, as to whether or not to reapply, which they ended up doing.
Okay.
You said that this is a tough decision or a tough situation, Greg. Tire wear, though, is not bad. Is this just maybe a little bit too much?
I would agree. Tire wear is always the goal. I mean, that's what people want to see. It creates comers and goers and who manages tires the best. But like I say, we thought we were in a really good spot last year with the tire as we raced it in the fall, and obviously something's different now. So this is too drastic.
Did the decision to switch to a resin over PJ1 surprise you guys?
I think everybody's trying to get away from PJ1. That's kind of the goal in general. So no, it's not a real surprise.
So basically the reason it's courting then is because the track is not taking rubber.
It's just not taking rubber. If you look up in the corners, the tire rubber's being worn off, and it's just not adhering to the racetrack. That's why you see all the marbles up at for corners. And again, last August, it took rubber immediately. As is typical with concrete, you run around in a caution, it'll pick it back up, right? We see that in Martinsville, we see that at Dover, we see that here, but immediately when we go back green, it lays back down, and that's just not happening.
Greg, is it much different here?
No, really. If you recall, last September we fought rain, right? So it was cool. It rained. I think we had one red flag. We had a couple cautions. No, it doesn't seem like it's drastically different. And obviously we've had some sunshine today.
How much of a concern was this happening today after yesterday with what you guys saw, or did you feel like it'd go away?
Everybody got together and, expressed concern, but we decided to wait and see what happened with the truck race. The truck race went exactly like we expected it to, put rubber down immediately. Tire wear was in line with what we have historically seen. So it's a little bit unclear as far as why we're not seeing that same thing, today.
Do you think you'll have to test again before next September?
I'd say it's probably a good bet we will. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks all.
This is Harrison Burton, driver the number 21. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check out one of these two videos beside me. Visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.
Driver, start your
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Draft of the Circus program brought to you by Sinista1 Productions. Here we are in the midst of a marathon of Sinista1 Productions podcast for the third one tonight, and there's one more after us. The booth will come on after us. So after you're done listening to Richard and Louise argue with each other, tune on into the booth. It's a great podcast, covers a lot of topics, entertainment, politics, sports, music, all kind of stuff like that. So, but we cover auto racing here. And I want to introduce you to my panel: Richard Uden, Levi, Louise, Torres. What's up, fellas?
Evening.
This is, as I think I mentioned last week, is as good as the Seattle Kraken at this point. So I'm doing good. They're not doing good.
There you go. There you go. So, all right. Special thanks to all you folks who listened to us last week. Thanks to Louise Torres, Multimedia, frontstretch.com. And I don't know if you saw our new commercial up there, Uber Australia. So if you're tuning in from Australia and you need an Uber, give them a shout. But yeah, I just couldn't resist that after I saw that commercial with Valtteri Bottas. I love it when somebody has a good time and produces something funny like that. So, but so let's kind of dig into the weekend here. We've got NASCAR was at Bristol, no dirt this time around, and the drivers had asked for a tire that would give them some more degradation and more wear, and they certainly got that. They got a bit more than they asked for, as a matter of fact. But the end result was, I thought anyway, in my humble little opinion, was a pretty darn entertaining race. And you saw the comments from the Goodyear guy up there at the top of the show. So at the end of the day, though, another Toyota 1-2. Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex battling for the lead there. Brad Keselowski came home third. Richard, you're a Toyota guy. You must be pretty happy. Let's talk about Bristol a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we need every race to be like that. It was fantastic. But no, it did certainly show that experience shone through at the end of the day there. We had all three drivers on the podium were age 40 or over. So, you saw some of the younger guys out there, burn tires up early in the run and not be able to close it out. Whereas those three guys certainly played the experience card and brought home the car and the tires relatively in one piece. I think they were a little bit worse for wear by the end of the race, but they managed to get it done and held on when it counted. So, cautions had gone the other way at the end there. Who knows what would have happened? So it was a little bit of a lottery, but I think, with the Toyota hat on, we certainly had the pace all day. I mean, Ty Gibbs was really fast all day. The kids, really stepped up this year. I think he's got I don't know if it's still the case post Bristol, because I know he dropped back through the field, but going into Bristol, he had the highest average finish of anybody in the Cup Series this year. So, he's really starting to cut out the mistakes and get the job done.
Just it's any one of these weeks he's gonna be there in victory circle. So Keith,
for sure.
Do you have that picture of those Goodyear tires after the run? So you can have a quick look at what we're talking about here with these Goodyear tires that are just worn down to the belt. And there were other tires that were just absolutely covered in marbles. So I mean, it was, Richard, to your point, the experienced guys, the guys that were able to figure out what was going on and adjust their style of driving that were able to capitalize. It did put Goodyear in a bit of a struggle to have enough tires there. They were feverishly mounting tires on the rims mid-race to make sure everyone would have enough tires to get to the end. So, but they did it, and some of the drivers thought it was great. Like the guy that won thought it was great, but other guy like Kyle Larson was visibly angry. He said he never wants to run a race like that again. So, here's a guy who's relatively comfortable in almost anything he drives. So, that's if he won, he'd have been happier. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Where did he finish?
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a skill. It's an art form. It's another tool that the drivers have to have. You see the fuel mileage races. You see drivers have to be able to, run to a fuel number. You see drivers have to be able to run to a tire wear, or tire drop off number. And I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you probably don't want every race like that. And certainly at a faster track, it would have been a lot more dangerous. But at a short track like Bristol, it was a skill. And both Denny and Martin, they have that skill in their locker. They, and they shone through it. And I don't have a problem with races like that. It's like, if you went to a faster circuit and had those problems, then no. But somewhere like Bristol or Martinsville or one of these shorter tracks, no, have at it, go for it. And the really good thing about it was nobody saw it coming. It was the same tire, from my understanding, that they ran in Bristol in October. A little bit cooler, cleaner surface with a tire compound on the bottom groove as opposed to the PJ1 they've used in the past. And we were expecting some maybe slightly different handling characteristics. And I don't think anybody got through enough laps during practice to see these issues that we were seeing during the race. And it showed that the teams that would be able to react and work as a team and it really brought the crew chiefs to the fore. I was talking to a couple of the crew chiefs earlier in the week and they loved it. Even the guys that didn't finish quite so well as some of the others, they said how much fun it was because it made them think on the feet. It wasn't one of these boring, predictable races where they just, don't really do much. They were thinking on the feet, they were making tire calls and strategy calls. They were leaning heavily on the tire simulation and modeling engineers that work every weekend in the background at the shops up and down North Carolina. And people don't give those guys enough credit for the sacrifices that they make. And it was an excellent opportunity to show teamwork at the best, and hopefully NASCAR will, and the TV will really push that when when they get the opportunity.
Yeah, I think the tire dag is important, but it was a bit much. It was a bit much, yeah. But certainly having a tire that drops off makes for an entertaining race. Now, Lee or Louise, would one of you gentlemen like to chime on in? Give Richard some more pats on the back about how wonderful Toyota is?
Oh, no, Toyota's great. Not going to lie. Bristol, Richard touched on it. there's tracks out there where drivers can just around and go in a circle and kind of, relax a little bit and have time to make decisions to get themselves up front. Bristol is not like that. Bristol is a fight from the second that green flag drops till the checkered flag drops. You've got to fight, fight, and fight. And this weekend really proved it. I mean, that tire degradation issue, I don't even think we were through the second segment and Goodyear was like, yep, got to release more tires. I mean, we weren't even halfway through the race yet. And they're already bringing out more tires. So, yeah, the experience level definitely showed through. Those guys that have that experience are sitting on the podium. So
I think that it was, and again, I heard on the rumor, I don't think any teams actually used the extra set of tires that were given to them. And I think it was good that they didn't, because I think there were leftover tires from last year's race. So they weren't only the same compound and the same design of tire as last year, but they're also 6-7 months old. So the rubber would have been in even worse condition than what we saw. Now, I don't know how much truth was in that. So that's just a something I heard on the street, as it were. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that would have gone on if they came to that.
Yeah,
it's fortunate they had a really lengthy green flag run. I think it was like 121 green laps to the finish, nonstop on the green. And that's the other one of those many alarming things. That, in a good way, is that despite some of the early gremlins hiccups, we only saw one car out of the race. We didn't see a wreck fest. The caution count was in single digits at the end of the day, which is flattering, because when you think of Bristol, you think about 10, 15, 20 caution periods. This one just only had 9, 2 excluding the stage breaks, just 7. And yeah, they had long caution periods, which I think it might have worked for the best in some ways. Yeah, some people look at it as like, why is these cautions so long? Well, knowingly that this is a concern, they have all those tire wear being at an extreme, it gives them a little bit of breather. Then we saw a transition, because you alluded to it, Richard, where the beginning, it seems like the ones who ran the cars or the late models regularly, like a Josh Berry, for example, he did really well in the beginning, but as the race went down, we had that long green flag run to the finish. That's where the experience came into play. Albeit, Berry had a really good run and showed up to it. Didn't have the result he wanted, but you still had like a Ty Gibbs who recovered fairly well, but in the end, you had the veterans, like it's like the early 2000s all over again, where you'll see the veterans just kind of show up, rise to the occasion with, of course, Hamlin winning, and you had Keselowski in the mix and Truex. So all in all, quite a compelling race. One of the more better ones, the more relaxing ones I've seen, and you really saw who was saving, who handled it better, and who didn't handle it well. And lap traffic really factored to the point that I was under the impression that this has the writing of 1995 all over again if they're not careful, when Earnhardt and Labonte had their run in and then led Labonte into the wall, coming to the line. But fortunately, we didn't come up to that. And also, only 5 cars in the lead lap. But on the surface, I mean, people probably will look back on it as like, people talk about this as a great race, but they only see 5 cars in the lead lap. There's a lot more context into it. It's also the first time we saw only the top 5 on the lead lap since Dover in 04, which is the opposite of Bristol 20 years ago, where at Dover 04, you had leaders crashing, mismanagement of how they clean up the oil. You had wrecks, red flying, high attrition, a ridiculously long yellow period over when Ryan Newman hit the pit barrier that had messed up the whole order. Fortunately, we had none of that. All we had to worry about is who's going to rise up to the occasion. And you hear from the drivers, from Hamlin, even Chris Gabehart, the crew chief, it was in the driver's hand, also in the team's hand, which is a good thing to see, because sometimes at the end of the day, we don't hear much about the crew or the team. And that's one of the things that Fox have done a much better job this year. If there's one major positive in their broadcast, it's acknowledging the crew members more in that regard, because they deserve as much flowers as the drivers, because at the end of the day, it's a team effort. When the team is on it, they're on it. And when the team falters, especially on pit road, they crumble and they don't recover fairly well. We've seen that throughout the year already. One mistake on pit road, one lengthy pit stop, game over, depending on the package and the track and so on.
Yep. Did we break the red flag streak
No,
here?
no. Phoenix had no red flags. Bristol had no
Okay,
red flags.
good,
So
good,
we've been
good.
good for a while.
Yeah,
I think this is the
two races. So.
Yeah, this is the first race weekend since LA. We had no red flags across the 3 national touring divisions. So
yeah, but we had a truck race down there as well this week, right?
yes, and
then we
Eckes.
didn't quite have the same issues with tires. Is the tire that much different than the truck series uses than the Cup series, or does that have more to do with the fact that the Cup cars are just traveling at a higher speed?
I mean, the Cup cars are not as quick as they were several years ago. But
Well,
also,
I'm talking the trucks though. They're
No.
faster than the trucks.
well, yeah,
I was wondering why
I
why the trucks didn't have the excessive works. There, is it a very different tire compound that they use for the trucks than they use for the Cup cars? Is a harder compound. Richard, any
I'd
insight?
like to think so.
I don't know. I must admit. I mean, obviously, trucks are going to put different loadings through the tires, but not as extensive. I don't know what the length of the runs were in the truck race. I don't know if they put that compound down beforehand. I don't know.
Okay.
Also,
and I think
they
think
ran
the
at night too.
trucks.
I know. Well, it must be a different tire because they still run on the small rim rather than the large rim that the Cup runs on. So yeah, fundamentally got a different tire.
Oh, there you go. So all right, solved the mystery. Didn't even have to call Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
just had to wait for Lee to chime in with the right answer. So,
but yeah, Christian Eckes won the truck
hijacked it.
race.
Sorry, Lee.
Yeah, in the end, Christian Eckes won the truck race. Nick Sanchez got into it with another guy in their late 30s or early 40s with Stuart Friesen over an incident that happened earlier in the race. No fines or penalties were handed for Friesen or Sanchez for that matter. Just only, I think it was like a crew chief from the 91 truck got fined, and that's about it. So on the penalty side, that's all there was.
Were any penalties on the Cup side? I didn't have a chance to check the penalty report.
Zero.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, just only the fine from the crew chief of the 91 truck.
Okay.
So yeah, no, everything else went pretty much scot-free in that regard. So yeah, because I think Rafton got fined for the thing at Talladega with Sanchez. I think he did, but Friesen didn't. So.
All right, so let's any other comments coming out of Bristol before we start talking about going to COTA?
I think that's pretty much all the major notes that there were. We saw, of course, 54 lead changes, the most at a short track and at Bristol. So, and I thought overall the racing, just like I mentioned, for the most part sunshine and rainbows. Of course, you have drivers complaining, but I find it amusing that Larson's the one who didn't want to do it again. Yet he's the one that's driving everything. And also, mind you, he's going to run the month of May, which is a challenge within itself. So,
who knows? Who knows what kind of, he's...
You never know what kind of month of May we're going to have. You never know. Tires could be a big thing, like it was, like, I think in 05 when they resurfaced it a little bit, right? The compound was kind of mixed in 05 for the Firestones, if I recall, because they diamonded it a little bit.
They haven't had a ton of real tire issues at the 500. Now that they had a couple famous ones at the Formula One race there one time, and then the Brickyard the one year. So, but
but you never know.
Those races we don't talk about those. So, so we're headed off to COTA. Our first road race of the year. Got a couple of guest drivers in there. I see that Kobayashi is going to be in there. RC Enerson's going to run the Xfinity race. He announced that earlier today, or his dad Neil did. So, I
think Danny Kvyat's in the one of the Xfinity races, isn't he?
I
saw that name drop. Yeah,
Danny Kvyat's going to be in there. Yep. So. So, I'm sure Van Gisbergen is in either one race or the other. Is he going to be in the Cup race?
He's going to be in both. So
he can do both? Okay.
Yeah, and so is Allmendinger.
Of course. Well, of course, Allmendinger's going to be in both. So,
which race is Boris said doing this year? I know he's coming back for one of the road courses. I can't remember which one it is.
It's definitely not Portland, unfortunately, at the moment. And I say unfortunate because I'm hoping people show up for Portland.
How old is Boris said these days?
The one with the circuit that has the circuit that has the best.
Could be Boris said Jr.
No, Boris said Jr. is not 61 years old.
No, I'm talking about we probably could see Boris said Jr. for all we know at Portland. I mean, he's going to be in that Hendrick Trans Am car.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in a Hendrick Xfinity car at some point this year.
Because I know Timmy Hill is driving the 66 and the Cup race, which will be Carl Long's first race in 2 years, as far as entering a Cup car.
All right, so
while they look it up, let's mention that Kobayashi is driving the 50 in a tie-up with the Mobile 150th anniversary, which is why it's not the 67 for that third 2311 entry. In case you haven't wondered.
I haven't wondered.
No, I'm talking about for the viewers, in case you were wondering why it's the number 50, there's your answer.
I didn't even know it was going to be the number 50. I just heard Kobayashi. I'm like, yeah, I love that dude. You know, although Stenhouse doesn't. So...
But yeah, it's like, the 50 car, it's kind of like the same thing what Hendrick did in 98, where it turned to 25 into 50 to commemorate the 50th anniversary, not so much of a sponsorship thing.
Yeah, they did that. Dario did that at the 500 one year. It was the 50th, I guess 50th anniversry. Target's 50 years in business or something. He had to, and he won it with the number 50. So Dario actually won, his 3 500s with 3 different car numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So 27, 50, and 10. That's Dario for you. So, so Luis, who do you like for COTA? I mean, we haven't had a road race this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whose chassis is going to be strongest. You got these new cars from Ford and Toyota. Same old tried and true equipment from Chevy. Toyota's on a roll, got some momentum.
Yeah, I feel like you have to look at the ones who has been strongly consistent at COTA or road courses for that matter. You can never count out Ross Chastain at COTA. Chris Buescher has been a pretty stout road racer. But, of course, it's the matter of how would colleague do. I feel like for every road course race, which kind of colleague racing is going to show up? The one that's going to run really well and win? Or the one that's going to run really well but don't get the result because they get into some shenanigans?
So who's colleague got driving for them?
AJ Allmendinger, Daniel Hamlin, and SVG.
That's what I was thinking, you can never count Allmendinger out in any road course ever. So he's always right up there, even if he's not winning, he's up there in the mix.
Yeah,
he's realistically the best road racer in NASCAR this day and age. So he doesn't have the results of some of them. I think probably a couple other guys have a few more wins, but he's certainly he's in the mix every race, so you can't count him out. Chase Elliott used to be the king of road courses, but Chase hasn't done anything in a couple of years.
Yeah, 3 years injury.
So I don't know that I would put any money on him.
You'd be better off putting money on Michael McDowell, who, like you mentioned, who always been good, but finally got that one elusive road win at Indy last year. Now the question is, can he keep it going?
Right, and if we look at the Toyota stable, right, you got to figure, Truex has been really good on a couple of road courses.
Yeah, Truex
and
Denny Hamlin.
Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tyler Reddick too.
Tyler Reddick, Ty Gibbs is a fine road racer. He did great on the road races in his Xfinity career. So this one's kind of it's kind of wide open, honestly. So
you could, all OEMs have like 2, 3 to 4 strong drivers in their program. So this could be about 8 or 10. It's just a matter of how they'll produce. Where I feel like it's going to come down to which pit crew doesn't mess it up for him, and of course the chaos that is road racing and Road America.
All right, so Luis, I need you to pick one.
Yeah. That said, I think you can. I'm going to go with Reddick here. I think he'll get a win at COTA once more.
Okay, and Lee?
Gonna go with the Dinger.
Okay, and I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs. I picked him for Bristol. He let me down a little bit there, but I that kid's going to win a race this year, so I'm going to go with Ty. And Richard, you are just going to be rooting for all the Toyotas out there.
I think some of your picks are pretty good there. I'm not going to disagree with them.
There you go. There you go. So,
Yep.
He's
all
picking
right.
Hideo Fukuyama in the 66 car. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Why not? Why not? So, all right. So let's, Richard, speaking of Toyota, the Lexus team had a great weekend down in Florida, the 12 hours of Sebring.
We did. Yep. No, we won the GTD Pro class with a couple of familiar names for the INDYCAR guys. With Carl Kirkwood making he runs the endurance races for the GTD Pro team, and Jack Hawksworth was one of the other drivers in there, of course, from INDYCAR a few years ago, and Ben Barnicoat as well was the third driver in that car. So backing up their championship win last year after a disappointing Rolex 24 down in Daytona, where they got taken out early in the race by a eager LMP2 car.
I know you're a big fan of Jack Hawksworth. You've done a lot.
All three of those guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've done a lot of work with Jack, and I've had an opportunity to meet Jack, and I'm just glad he's seen this kind of success in sports cars.
I'm surprised you can understand what he says, because you struggle with what I say sometimes, and Jack's got a far stronger accent than I do. But Jack's a good guy.
He's bad as Ken Miles. So
yeah, he's no, Jack's a good guy, and Ben's a good guy, and it's a bittersweet thing in a way for us. Obviously, we want to see those guys keep doing as well as they can, but we know that Toyota, Gazoo Racing over in Europe, have definitely been looking at those guys for the WEC program they tested out in Portimao. I think it was at the end of last year after winning the IMSA championship. So we've got another championship to win for sure with those guys, and this really gets us back on track after, as I say, a really, really disappointing Daytona weekend. And I think it's the third endurance race win for the Lexus program. First win down at Sebring, and really, really close finish, but we got the job done. And some very, very, very happy people in that camp this week.
All right, hats off to the Lexus team there. So all right, so let's switch gears to IndyCar for a minute. We've got a very interesting race coming up, non-championship race, the $1 Million Challenge at Thermal Club, the Thermal Club, which is essentially it's a club track, and we've talked about it some. It's a club track. It doesn't have a ton of infrastructure. They're only letting about 2,000 fans in, and all the fans will have the same kind of nice VIP access with the price point of $500 for a weekend ticket. But for that weekend ticket, you'll see they're going to do some extended test sessions on Friday and Saturday, qualifying Saturday night. And then the race format Sunday, they're going to have 2 heat races to take the field down to 12. And then the 12 will run a 2-stage race on Sunday, which will be 10 laps, followed by intermission, then another 10 laps. Now that lap is 2.9 miles around. Keith, do you have the track map? Have a look at the thermal circuit there. You can see it is a very, very interesting circuit with a lot of twists and turns and a lot of kind of different corners there. And it's absolutely beautiful in nearly every way. But this is, again, it's a made for TV event. It's a non-championship race, but it breaks up the 6-week gap in the schedule. And there are some people that are just excited to have a race. And then there are other people that just like to be mad about whatever they can be mad about. You know what I mean? It's like the Indy 500, they announced that the Carb Day concert will be George Thorogood. And people are mad about that. I'm like, George Thorogood? I mean,
why would you butcher? Like, come on, man. George Thorogood's good.
I'm not a huge fan of his. As a matter of fact, truth be told, if George Thorogood comes on my radio, one of my jokes is when George Thorogood comes on the classic rock station, I flip to the other one, and 9 times out of 10, George Thorogood on the other station at the same time. I don't know why they do that to me. But anyway, I'm not a huge fan.
That's with me with Riyadh. That's like, no, turn it off. Or
I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of George Thorogood, but I recognize the fact that the guy sold a ton of records, and 40 years after his heyday, his stuff is still constantly played on FM radio. And then the opening jack opening act is Gin Blossoms, and they're
Which I have no clue who it is.
Really.
Good Lord, Louise.
The Gin Blossoms? Hey, Jealousy? You don't like 90s rock, do you?
I listen to 90s rock, but 90s rock is not necessarily my strongest genre aside from grunge and metal and new metal.
So if I told you that One Direction was coming, you'd be all about that, right?
I don't care for One Direction, even if it is Harry Styles in there. And
Okay,
I think Harry was not the relevant one of the group at the time.
But anyway, back to Thermal. People bitch about what they want to bitch about, but I mean, and they say, "Oh, what's up with this crazy format?" I'm like, you know what? It's an exhibition race. It's not for points.
Fun.
Let them do whatever the hell they want. You know what I mean? The miles on the engine aren't counting towards their allotment. You know, so get out there, have fun, and all that money, the $1 million. It's 500,000 to the driver, 500,000 to one of the Thermal members, right? And the Thermal member, and I know they're all millionaires, right? People are like, oh, why does a millionaire need the money? Because that money's going to charity. And $500,000 to your favorite charity. So how can you get mad about that? But IndyCar fans like to bitch. But whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people complain. Yeah, it's like it's a 9:30 race, even though the main event will be probably at 5 till the top of the hour of 11. So at least when people show up at the track, they'll probably see the sunrise.
Well, and the sunrise is always beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Especially if you're out there in California at a beautiful club with catered, catered high-end food. I'm like, just enjoy it. Enjoy it. You gotta race instead of a 6-week break, right?
Yeah, you could see Coachella Belly Firebirds if they're playing at home around that time.
Yeah. So with that in mind,
$500 for a weekend ticket, like honestly, that's a damn good deal. Like,
well, it was.
Like, you can't go see Tay Tay for $500.
Well, it was.
It's like 800 at Indy to see Taylor.
It was 2,000 when they first announced it. Then they dropped it to 500, and everybody that already paid the 2,000, they sent them 1,500 back. So so that's
complaining.
Really? So you're talking it's your $500 includes 3 days, right?
Yeah. It
includes your parking, it includes your catered meals, and it includes VIP access.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Like I said, 3 days for $500 or $800 for 3 hours of Tay Tay. Well, I'm going to take
the race itself is short, but Friday and Saturday, they're doing testing all day Friday and Saturday. You can have cars on the track all day long.
And you're going to, and Thermal is a, it's a destination for the wealthy. It's not.
It is. You're going to be hobnobbing with millionaires.
Yeah.
It's not downtown St. Pete. It's not Detroit. It's not Chicago. It's the Thermal Club.
Definitely not Detroit.
No. I mean, it's
all right. So Lee, who do you like for Thermal?
Right off the bat, who I think is going to do good at Thermal, because I think he's probably got the most laps there, and that's Stingray Robb. Like he's drove there before. He's had some experience at that track because he kind of cut his teeth there a little bit. And I mean he's a show favorite, so I think I'm going to go with Stingray Robb. We'll see how he does this weekend. As far as laps on the place, I think he's probably got the most out of anybody in the field.
Okay. Not
and everybody's like, and he's an idiot.
Not where I would have went with my pick. I think it's right now after the first race of the season, it's hard to look past Team Penske, but I'm going to go with Pato O'Ward for this one. So, because he was, when it comes to the last week, Pato was the guy that broke up the Penske domination at the top of the order at St. Pete a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to go with Pato. Richard, who do you like?
I'm going to agree with you and say that it was going to be one of the Penske guys, and I don't think you can look past Joseph Newgarden, really.
Absolutely. So, Louise?
Stick with a Penske. I'm going to go with Will Power in this one. I think he'll be in the mix somehow. He'll find a way.
He will. Yeah, he will.
Albeit it will not end his drought because it's a non-points race, but then again, a lot of people do count it. A lot what his pull from Surfers Paradise, so it'd be like whatever total wins +1.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it's been a number of years since we've had a non-points race. So, or
Since
exhibition race.
Iowa, I think.
Iowa.
The Iowa heat races to determine the lineup. I believe that's what.
Oh, that's those qualifying races. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't count as the exhibition race. It's a qualifying race.
Yeah, they're classifying as the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, the last exhibition race they had was the one in Service Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Back in what was that? 07, 08, somewhere around there.
It had to be 08 because that's where Power got that pole with Penske. Or the 12. I can't remember. But I know that was the one where Power got the pole that some people like to classify as a +1 pole.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, whenever you go someplace fancy, you want to take your +1. So, all right. So, Lee, let's talk about the NHRA. Now, you have a graphic you like to show.
Yep. So, Luis touched on it earlier. So, this weekend is Mobil 1's 50th anniversary, and there's a specific driver that drives the Mobil 1 car, and he's going to be running the 50th anniversary lively this weekend. And I think Keith has got the graphics of that Top Fuel dragster up there. It's a pretty nice looking car. I think it goes well with Mobil's theme, black and gold. You know, the gold in there for the 50th. So pretty good. And Kobayashi, like Luis said, is running the 50 car this weekend with their Mobil 1 lively on it. So should pretty much look the same.
Yeah. So who's driving this one again?
That'd be that guy, Tony Stewart.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a new guy in NHRA.
Scottish fella, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he came from Star Trek or something like that. One of those shows. Something like that.
Richard is just wondering who. Then again,
right, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's the
son of Jackie. Yeah.
Husband of Martha, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's related
Cousin
to
of Snoop
French,
Dogg.
Unfortunately. He ain't British. Tony isn't British.
French Stewart. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Tony Stewart, yeah, there you go, running the Mobil 1 car. So where we racing?
This weekend we are out west. We are in Pomona, California, at the In-N-Out Burger Raceway. It is the Lucas Oil Winter Nationals. So traditional NHRA event. We always head west, kind of the third race of the season. Actually, the second race of the season. So this will start our West Coast swing for this portion of the year. Looks to be a good setup. Pomona is always a great racetrack. Couple side notes. Mike Salinas, he's Top Fuel driver. He's Top Fuel dragster guy. He been around for, probably 10, 15 years. He is stepping away from his ride for the rest of the season. He's got some health issues going on that need his full-time attention. So Mike's daughter, Jasmine Salinas, she has her Top Fuel license, and she's going to fill the seat for him starting this weekend in Pomona. So wish her the best of luck. Thinking about Mike and his health issues, and hopefully he gets through those. You never want to see a driver have to step away from the sport to deal with things, health issues. But, Mike's a tough guy, and he'll be back.
And those are things you can't ignore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can refuse treatment and die young, or you can kind of get yourself squared away and be around for a long time. So,
yeah, yep. And so, off track in NHRA news, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on FS1, if you have that channel, you might want to tune in because there's going to be a really good docuseries on there about the queen of drag racing, Miss Shirley Muldowney. They're going to do a kind of biography docuseries about her. That's tomorrow night, FS1, 7 p.m. Eastern. Should be pretty good. I've read some reviews about it. Really going to dive deep into her personal life and her racing life, and how she kind of paved the way for the female drivers of the NHRA, and there's a lot of them. There's quite a few drivers in NHRA, female drivers. So should be a very good TV event. So if you get the chance, please tune in and watch one of the queens of NHRA.
Do you know who directed that? Any idea?
I don't off the top of my head. I
just kind of wondering because it was Jenna Richter or Ricker. We had her on the show. She produced a fine 30 for 30 ESPN documentary about Janet Guthrie, and we had her on the show about the time that came out. I was just wondering if that was the same creative folks that are taking care of telling Shirley's story, but it might not be. I mean, Shirley's got a lot of fans. She's spanned a lot of generations and whatnot. And they made that movie about her, Heart Like a Wheel.
Yep.
Yeah, who played her in the movie? I forget. It was somebody.
Yeah. No, what are we doing tonight? We've had
let me look that one
Harry
up.
Styles on. We've had
George Thorogood, Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart. Yeah.
What?
The Hull City Football Club.
Oh my!
I'll allow that one.
Oh man! So all right. So what night was that on again, Lee?
That is on tomorrow night, the 21st, 7 p.m. on
Fox Sports 1. Right.
Fox Sports 1.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
So it's Bonnie Bedelia. Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't like Christmas movies.
Oh my God! Probably the second greatest Christmas movie ever made.
I have not seen Die Hard in its entirety, as far as I recall. So I got a long ways to go. I have no opinion on this.
Keith.
Let's just say Rocky. Let's just say Rocky.
Rocky
4 is a Christmas movie. Yeah, Rocky 4 is a Christmas movie.
Boy, we just lost Louise there.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. Rocky 4 is a Christmas movie. He just Sylvester Stallone cut you off there, I guess. So, all right.
Rambo's a Christmas movie. So
before we name drop any more non-racing folks, let's turn our attention to Formula One, where we're headed to Australia. But again, Richard, the drama is more off the track than on. Now, we had talked a couple weeks ago about Mohammed Ben Sulayem. He's been cleared of wrongdoing or cleared of any interference. Christian Horner was cleared, but then the other stuff came out. Now they have dismissed the employee that made the complaint. Now she's filing another complaint or seeking to appeal the decision. So this is like the thing that won't go away. And then most recently, Formula One was talking about needing to investigate an unnamed team boss about sharing confidential information, which prompted, because immediately 9 teams say it's not us. And the one team that didn't is Mercedes. But Susie Wolf, who is the was she the CEO of the F1 Academy or the managing director of the F1 Academy?
F1 Academy,
and she's also married to Toto Wolff, the principal at Mercedes. So I guess that's who they were going after. And she says it's totally unsubstantiated. So she's filed a criminal complaint against the FIA for singling her out, even though her name was never, or neither was Toto's name specifically mentioned, but I guess the media picked up on it. So, Richard, what do you think about all this?
I think the viewing figures for Drive to Survive have been down, so they're desperate to try and create some excitement for next year's season. Oh my goodness me, what a complete mess this is. I mean, it's a good job the sport's in a pretty strong place, because otherwise this would be destroying it right now. There's so much. It's like watching, to put it bluntly, monkeys throw shit around in the zoo. You know, it really is. It's like, come on, people, just sort this out. And the problem is, you know, as the sport gets more and more successful and popular, you know, it has the negative impact that you get more and more egos in the sport. And, you know, back in the day, you just basically had Bernie Ecclestone and he told everybody what to do and they got on and did it. Now you're creating some very, very, very rich and powerful people at the top of these teams and also the top of the FIA and top of FOM. And, you know, you got Liberty involved, who are a big multinational, you know, conglomerate who they want their say and their slice of the pie. And it's almost like there's too many people involved in decision making now. Back in Bernie's day, this would not have happened. You know, rightly or wrongly, it would have all been shot down. He would have dealt with it. He would have made sure this all went away.
Yeah, but Bernie would have either fired you or paid you off.
Exactly.
And not just Bernie,
probably,
you don't have a Charlie
probably
Whiting
both.
as well
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a different world we're living in, and certain people are taking advantage of that. And yeah, it's all getting a little messy. I think it's, you know, the people that, you know, the old saying about people in glass houses throwing stones, you know, people are making accusations against everybody else to cover up their issues rather than actually highlight the problems of somebody else. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, but it's pretty messy right now. And apparently there's a race this weekend.
Yeah.
Australia, yeah, Australia.
Yeah.
So if you're going to the race, you can call Uber Australia to get a ride.
There you go.
It's Valtteri Bottas. So
hopefully you can get into the car a little bit easier than Valtteri did.
Yeah, but Valtteri's been the subject of you know, a little bit of news, depending on who you believe, that he's likely out of that seat at the end of the year, as well as his teammate Zhou Guanyu. It's like Sauber's looking to dump to both of them, and of course, when they stake F1 now, although they have to change, they have
Kick, Sauber, whatever.
Well, they have to change their name to Kick for Australia because the
races,
sports gambling, not least. I mean, I don't know who the hell they are anymore, but they'll be out, you know, some point in time in the future. But they're, you know, Valtteri's definitely on the hot seat. They brought him in, and they feel like he's really failed to elevate the team. So, and again, I don't know how much of this is idle media speculation or how much of this is, you know, but I believe it is a contract year for him. So they certainly could be looking to replace both drivers over there at Kick, Stake, Sauber, Audi.
Yeah, the team has been under delivering, especially for Bottas.
Yeah,
there were several races last year where he was at the bottom and never recovered. Or they fall out of the race mid-race. More often than not, when he's at the bottom, he usually never fails to see. The team always fails to get him to the line. There's so many of that happening, and I think the last round it looked more or less the same. Where Guan Yu is up there just outside the points and then Bottas at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, but it's kind of funny. You got same old teams struggling every year, right? Haas doesn't look any better. Williams is hot and cold. You know what I mean? They have.
I think they're doing better. I think they've been a little bit unlucky this year. They had the overheating issues in Bahrain, which affected a lot of Mercedes runners.
They did. Yeah,
and you know, I don't know if the Saudi Arabia circuit really suited them, but I think the Williams are probably ahead of Sauber and Haas, even though Haas already have scored a point. And they're probably above RB Alpine, or whatever the hell they're called now, and Alpine. Yeah, so
Alpine is a mess.
Yep.
So, all right. So, well, I mean, I would say, who do you like for Australia? But the answer is Max. You know, is anybody bringing upgrades to Australia? Have you heard?
I doubt it with all these flyaway races. Yeah. I think you're going to see the first round of upgrades at the first European race, which is probably Spain, I think. In a couple of races, because I think you got Australia and China. They keep changing the schedule, don't they? I have to I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know Suzuka's next month. That I know about.
That's
And I think in Imola as well.
Suzuka,
it's just
Miami.
weird.
Imola is the first. Yeah, Imola's the first.
Imola's the first one.
European race, and then they go to Monaco, Canada, then Spain. So Spain's quite late. That's in mid-June. That'll be toasty. Oh, yeah.
We got a ways to wait. The biggest thing for me with Melbourne is hopefully we have a clean race. Last year was just horrible in that front, in my opinion. It just got very messy at the end with all the controversies with the race running order. We're never gonna run one lap and all that. Oh, we had none of that this weekend. That's the last thing F1 would need, considering all the off-track drama. Maybe they would welcome it, consider depending on how it affects Max.
I was gonna say, they haven't had any on-track drama to speak of this year, so maybe it's about time we had something,
Yeah, and in Melbourne, it's typically a track that you'll see that frequently, more often than not. Sometimes, especially when it used to be the opener.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's been some great races, and of course, at the first race of the first ever race there, Damon Hill, I think, became the first driver to win back-to-back Grand Prix in the same country when he won Australia in '95 and then Australia again in '96. So that's an interesting little tidbit for you, but yeah, we'll leave it there.
Oil all over in the back wing and pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, from Jacques Villeneuve's car, yeah.
That'd be a neat race version diecast someday, but we'll see if they'll ever do it, because those who like to place Rothmans on their car will have to replicate the oil stains, which is going to be complicated, but they'll find a way.
Well, you put some used motor oil in a little Windex bottle, and so
True.
Spray it on there.
Sounds like a true expert there.
But to say who's going to probably finish second, I think that's what Frank was alluding to. I'm going to go with Leclerc.
All right, so Lee, you like Stingray for this one as well?
Can't pick Stingray. Might have to pick Logan though, but you never know.
I'm going to go with George Russell this weekend.
George Russell and Richard.
I mean, you look at Perez. Be interesting to see if Ollie Berman races again. He did a fantastic job in Saudi Arabia a couple of weeks ago, standing in from Carlos Sainz. It'd be interesting to see if Carlos Sainz has fully recovered from his appendicitis surgery. So I haven't heard if he's recovered or not. And he's on standby. Berman's on standby officially. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, we'll probably find out later today, because I think practice starts in about 2 or 3 hours after we go off air.
It will be far off the first Sunday race of the season.
Except for me on the West Coast. It's 3 for 3 on Saturdays on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So, Richard, did you say you're going Perez? Is that what I heard?
Let's go with Checo. Yeah.
So what does that leave me? Hamilton? Or Lando Norris, maybe?
Or the countryman. Oh wait, is he? No, yeah, the countryman.
Piastri,
yeah. I don't know why I was thinking he was from New Zealand, but carry on.
So, yeah, New Zealanders don't like to be referred to as Australian. I made that mistake once and was corrected. You
get corrected pretty quickly on that one.
The guy says, "I'm a Kiwi, mate." I'm like, "Okay, all right, gotcha."
I mean, at least you got out of it with all your teeth left, so that's a positive.
yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, 7 minutes to kill. Who's got a topic?
Oh,
that doesn't involve any
related.
Huh?
Does it have to be racing related?
It's following our format. It should be.
Yeah,
at least loosely racing.
The only
Hear me out.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Right.
Get on the soapbox.
Right. So it is racing because it's typically, in these situations when I'm going to a testing event or a racing event, flying. Okay. flying these days is the epitome of human inability to cooperate with each other. One of the most annoying things I see on an airport is when the damn plane lands and you get to the gate, everybody stands up. No, sit the fuck down and wait your turn. Sit down. Row
That's
by
back-to-back
row.
weeks, man.
There's that F word we're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's 2 weeks in a row now.
2 weeks.
Red flags. Red flags.
So, yeah.
But carry
Sort
on. I get
yourself
you.
out, people. It is so annoying. And then you've got the person who stands up and did he carry on? Is 3 rows back. So he's now got to wade through everybody, get his carry on, and then push back in front of everybody because he thinks he has this divine right to get to the front of the plane because he wasn't on the plane early enough to put his bag above his seat. So he thinks he can put it somewhere else. What is everybody's problem? And when you say you're in boarding group 4, don't turn up if you're in boarding group 7. I mean, people, come on. I'm flying out to Sonoma on Monday, and it's going to be exactly the same. Exactly the same. It is just...
See, you just need
people turn into this, like... I don't know what even happens to them.
Yeah,
these perfectly normal people... It looks like they turn into like a zombie apocalypse movie all of a sudden when the planes landed. God,
Richard, I might know.
If I was right,
you just need to get Lee to fly you around.
I was going to say,
if I was an air
might know a
steward,
guy.
if I was an air steward, I'd carry a taser with me. Somebody stands up out to sit down.
My weaponry insurance would have been a baseball bat or a steel chair.
Or
taser let's just get a whole fest. Yeah. Get decked. No, I totally get your
annoying. And it makes it slower. That's the stupid thing. They think by standing up and pushing to the front, it makes getting off the plane quicker. It makes it so much slower because you've got to wait for your impatient ass to get off. Oh.
That's why I always pick window seats to try to be in the lower number or letter as possible. Because I do not. No, I'm with you on that one. I tell you that much. And also on the side note, I was going to mention.
Yeah, you got 4 minutes.
I was going to mention. You mentioned about
$800
or just tailored 3.5 hours. Technically about 5 because you have an opening act that it depends on the region. It depends on the time period. You have your Sabrina Carpenter. Sometimes you have.
Okay. Foul. At least Richard was able to link. Flying to going to test
because he mentioned Sonoma. Oh, speaking of Sonoma, now this race.
You can't link
there's a reason. There's a reason. Here's the thing. There's a reason why Sonoma. There's one reason that people do not understand why Sonoma cannot be a West Coast swing race for Cup or early. Out in the woods, out in the back, there's a parking lot or a camping lot that is flooded with water in February or March. There's a reason why they don't run there. That's why they wait till like June, or back then used to be May. Yes, I get it. People want the aesthetic of the green grass of Sonoma. I would too. But a guy like me that has a minimal budget would be front loader on the West Coast that leaves the rest of the year empty. And with everything going on in my life, it's not possible. That's why. And also just. Will the racing be better if it was in the spring in Sonoma just because of the temperatures or just because of the green grass? You gotta have to use your common sense. And also, there's
it does look pretty good in the green grass. I must admit, it looks so good.
No, it does.
It does.
But somebody pointed it out that parking infrastructure would be hellacious because there's a puddle of mud or flood, and I'm not sure what they'll have to do. Repave the parking and camping lots to make it possible. Add certain elevation so it's flat enough so the flood won't be a problem. Oh,
I've been to Bristol Go to Bristol in April and it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same at most circuits if it rains in around here in the spring. I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure you go to some of the others and you go to Phoenix and it rains because it does, it has rained out there and you just get, it turns into a wet sand trap. So, I think they're all pretty much the same, but I know what you mean.
But yeah, there's your racing-related trouble. I just wanted to mention something that Lee pointed out, that there's more than 3.5 hours. But I went back to Sonoma, which I'm glad you brought up. For those wondering, what's going on in Sonoma?
Okay, so
next week.
Yeah.
Next week we've got a tire test. There's JGR are there, and each manufacturer will take a team. I don't know who the other guys are, but yeah, we've got. I think the 19 car is. Yeah, it's the 19 car there for JGR, and let's have a look. Who else? Who else is there for the other organizations? Let's have a look. Let me tell you. We have the Sonoma. We have. Oh, come on. The 19, the 1, and the 4. So there we go.
Oh, cool.
There you go. The 19, the 1, and the 4. All right. So that takes us to the end of the hour. I invite all you folks to stay tuned in. The booth is coming up at 9:30. You'll enjoy that. Trust me, it's always an entertaining show. I want to thank our producer, Keith Hayes, and Sinista1 Productions. I want to thank you folks that listen to us week in and week out, and hope you enjoy it. I want to thank my friend, About Broke Bubba. I want to thank Richard, Lee, Louise, Valtteri Bottas, and Uber Australia, frontstretch.com, Louise Multimedia, and Facebook Live, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Until next week, enjoy the races. Good night.
Thanks for watching Drafting the Circuits. Make sure to follow Drafting the Circuits on Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. Drafting the Circuits is a COTA Sinista1 production.